G'day trainers, and welcome back to the channel where all things are Pokemon. Today we're going to be talking about the Pokemon Legends EA trailer because I wanted to make sure all the hype had gone, all the, buzzword algorithm. I just didn't want to get in on it. Alright, let's jump into the video. So if you've been living under a rock, or you have a healthy lifestyle that doesn't revolve around Pokemon news, then I am thrilled to talk to you about it. In the trailer, we see our options for the starters: Chikorita, Tepig, and Totodile. I personally am so excited about this because we've got two Pokemon from Generation 2, Chikorita and Totodile. Totodile is my all-time favorite starter, period. Close second would be Bulbasaur. I am a Gen 2er, you could say. I'm a 30-something-year-old, and I watched, I grew up with the anime. I watched my brother play Pokemon Red, but it wasn't until Gold and Silver came out where I got my very own cartridge and unknowingly started a lifelong obsession with the magical world of Pokemon. The first starter I chose out of my options, which of course were Chikorita, Cyndaquil, and Totodile, how could I look past that blue little guy with his chompy jaws? I'm picking that guy every time. Now, as we all know, Mega Evolution has had the dust wiped off and is making a comeback. And this is also really exciting to me, as I think we can all assume that the starters will be receiving Mega Evolutions themselves. I'll finally have my Water Dark type, as he was meant to be. Dark type was introduced in Generation 2. Why would you not make like an obvious starter a Dark type when he's a big alligator guy? Missed opportunity, right? Missed opportunity. Some of its Pokedex entries make it seem that it would be really fitting to have this type. For example, in Gold version, when it bites with its massive and powerful jaws, it shakes its head savagely and tears up its victim. In Ruby and Sapphire, Feraligatr intimidates the foe by opening its huge mouth in battle. It will kick the ground hard with its thick and powerful hind legs to charge at the foe and at an incredible speed. Hinting there that perhaps we could see an intimidate ability on this guy when he's his Mega Evolution. Would be cool to see. In Platinum, Pearl, and Diamond, it usually moves slowly, but it goes at blinding speed when it attacks and bites its prey. Interesting here that we've got a generational gap, but one talks about incredible speed and the other one talks about moving slowly. The point is, these dex entries sound menacing, and I think it would make sense if it was already a Dark type, but I think that's what we'll get with our Mega Evolution. I guess there are other options they could go for as well. I think I've heard people talk about perhaps a Steel Water type for Alligator as its Mega Evolution, perhaps something to do with its teeth or its spikes. I think that's it's definitely possible, but I think based off the dex entries alone, I think it's more likely that we're going to see a Water Dark for Alligator as its Mega. But I don't know, there is already a Water Dark in Sharpedo and Gyarados, so in a sense it might seem a bit boring, but Water Dark on Gyarados doesn't make sense. Water Dark on Feraligatr makes 100% sense, so yeah. I'm gonna kind of go a little bit off script here, but I made some notes. Let's see how we go. This train of thought really it stimulated the nostalgic juices, if you know what I mean. Crystal, for me, still is my favorite game to play of all time, and I think that's because I played it through more than any other Pokemon game by a huge margin. And I just wanted to give you a bit of an idea of what it was like in the late 90s, early 2000s, being a kid playing these games. I didn't really have much access to the internet at the time, and even if and when I did, it's not like there was even close to the amount of information that's on the internet now about Pokemon. So I also didn't have a Pokemon guidebook, which a lot of kids had. So for me, a lot of my knowledge of the game just came from playing through the game over and over again. But there was still a lot of gaps in terms of like more of the mechanics of how the game works and how it's played and that kind of thing. My teams were probably pretty standard. As I mentioned, I always had for Alligator. I think out of 100 playthroughs, I picked Chikorita once and Cynical maybe 2 or 3 times. But it was, I just love for Alligator. I remember distinctly one time playing through, I only used for Alligator, and I had like, I hadn't even finished all 8 badges yet, and I had been grinding it in on Tentacruels, and it was like level 64 or something, and I was at the I was doing the lighthouse mission. I don't know, the things we do when we're kids, right? But when I had a full team, it was pretty standard. Pidgeot is my favorite Pokemon of all time, so I always had a Pidgeot. Often ran Alakazam. I was able to trade with my brother, so I had Alakazam, and really, you've heard it so many times before, Alakazam can solo the game. You know, Psychic, give it the elemental punches, Fire, Thunder, Ice, and it's pretty much can handily, it's going to outspeed and do massive damage, one-shot lots of things. So, you know, I had that guy on. A few times experimented with Golem, and even Gengar, but just didn't find them to be as much fun to use. Ampharos, obviously, as well, but it is a crime that Crystal removed early Mareep. That's just weird. Something that I adapted to, right? See, now in modern Pokemon games, you gain XP. You've got the universal XP share, so everyone experiences up, and you also get experience when you catch Pokemon. See, I was, as a kid, deterred from catching them all because in Crystal, XP was so important. I would rather knock a Pokemon out than catch it and lose the experience. So even now, I'm currently playing through Pokemon Scarlet. It's my second proper playthrough. I'm doing a shiny lock with flying types only, but I'm actually filling up my decks at the same time, and I'm actually finding it really fun to do that, and rewarding. But in almost every other game that's come out since Crystal, I do not catch Pokemon with any intention of filling my Pokedex because I'm just conditioned to not do it. And I'm sure you've heard people talk about it before, but the XP curve is really bad in Generation 2. And oftentimes when I had a full team of 6, I'd get all the way to the doors of the Elite Four and still have Pokemon who had only recently reached their final evolution, mid-30s. And so you'd have to do this horrible grind just to be ready to take it on. And for me, I did not like that. I really, really disliked training a wild Pokemon. So I came up with my own personal system, which I'm sure many people have done before as well. But I restricted my team to, I experimented with 2, 3, and 4. Maximum 4. I dropped 4, and then I went to 3. And I was like, I can beat this game with 3 Pokemon. I've done it with 2. I've done it with Feraligatr and Ampharos, and that was some nice synergy there, but there was still some gaps, being able to really do any meaningful damage against Magnemites that Jasmine has, as an example. But I experimented with this because I found that if I didn't grind at all, 0 grinding in the grass, and I just battled every single possible trainer there was to, by the time I hit the doors of the Elite Four, my Pokemon were at the very least level 40, in some cases mid 40, which just felt like, okay, I'm ready to take on the league, which is crazy to say because in later generations, that would be really low leveled for Elite Four. So I don't know, it's really interesting to me to think about, like, as a kid, what my experience of playing Pokemon is, to compare that with, for example, kids today whose introduction to Pokemon would be Scarlet and Violet, or Legends Arceus, which is a very different playstyle, or even Generation 6, for example. Like, a lot of quality of life, a lot of the way that the game plays out is very different from Generation 2. So let me know in the comments down below. I'd really like to hear what generation you were introduced to the game, and what do you notice that's really different? Because this is my point. The way I play now is so heavily influenced on how I played then, because it's ingrained in me. Like, I see a wild Pokemon and my first instinct is just to be either run away, it's not worth my time on the experience. I want to battle trainers because they give more XP and that's more worth my time. Do you have a similar kind of code, or are you more of a, like, nah, I've always been about catching them all and that kind of thing? I'd love to hear from you guys and find out what it was like for you playing this game as a kid, and how you are who you are now. And I'm going to stop because I feel like I'm going in circles here. Thank you for listening to my rant. Thank you guys so much. I'd love to hear from anyone who made it this far into the video. As I said, whatever challenges you had to overcome, whatever things you found your style, your way of playing. It's really cool to connect with people on something that has really impacted, like, generations, and will continue to do so for sure. Thanks for watching. I really would appreciate if you could click that subscribe button, guys. I'm trying to grow my channel to 500 subscribers before the end of the year. I'm going to keep making content for myself as well as you guys, so if you're enjoying it, just let me know with a thumbs up, with a subscribe. That would help out a ton. We've got another Then We Battle next week with PokeChamp, so make sure you keep your eyes open for that. And I think that's all I have for you. So, thank you very much, trainers. I'll see you in the next one. Bye!